Ryan. Thank you for meeting with us today in this beautiful new Del City High School Performing Arts Center. This lobby, it's a beautiful addition, and I'm sure the district and the kids are already getting so much use, and they're very proud of it. So we appreciate you taking the time today to visit with us. Just a little bit, take us back on that journey and the recap of the bond issue and what it took to get us here today.
This was a part of what we termed Bond 35, and Bond 35 was the largest bond issue that our district had ever passed, and we have our beginnings in the early 50s. So this was quite an undertaking for even us, and we had 13 large projects that we were going to try to get accomplished. You know, it's something that you look back on and you kind of wonder how you did it, but you know, we had a great team, and CMS, our contractors, architects, and the Mid-Del team worked together collaboratively, and we had a real good outcome.
Thank you, Dr. Cobb, for meeting with us today in this beautiful facility, Soldier Creek Elementary, which was constructed just a few years ago. Now that we're coming to the end of this bond, let's just kind of recap, and maybe we start just at the beginning and tell us what's unique about Mid-Del, first of all.
Right now we have 21 school sites plus a tech center. We're the only school district in the state of Oklahoma with a tech center. As the name suggests, we serve the communities of Midwest City and Del City, but we also serve Forest Park and Oklahoma City and a little sliver of Choctaw as well. Not to mention Tinker Air Force Base, which really defines the entire community.
Tell us about the process of how you got started and how you came about discovering what the needs of the district were, and then how you prioritize those needs. Kind of tell us what that looked like for you.
I spent the first year really getting to know our facilities, and during the summer of 2016, I met with my leadership team, looking at all of our facilities and what the needs were. We went out and met at every single campus with the faculty. We met with student groups. We asked each set of students to show off what's great about your school and what you would like to see worked on. And we had community bond talks as well. And that really helped us shape our list. By the summer of 2017, we were able to take a bond resolution to the board and then call for the bond election in October. It really took about 16 months of planning to get to that bond election for $130 million worth of bond projects. But in the end, we passed with 75% approval.
Which is amazing.
So it was a little less challenging than I thought, but I think that the fact that we treated it like we were always just a few votes short and didn't take anything for granted helped us. This bond really reformed or transformed our school district, and our middle schools are off and running as middle schools instead of junior high schools with a middle school configuration.
We're here at the newly renovated football field for the Midwest City High School Stadium with Andy Collier, Athletic Director for the Mid-Del School District. I know at the beginning of the bond, there was some discussions about could there be a possibility of bringing all three high schools together, right, and building one grand stadium. So tell us about that process and what some of those conversations were.
At the end, there was so much tradition with all three of our high schools. The community, both Del City and Midwest City, felt like we should probably just renovate each individual school. Everybody wants to play or be a part of something nice. As a parent, you know, safety first. The new stadium does that with the new turf, as well as for the stands for the people that come to the games. But as an athlete, besides the safety, is just being able to play in a facility that's so nice. That first game when those kids played here, it was just a exciting night, but you could tell in their eyes that they hadn't played in something like this. Yeah. So that was really neat.
Having that experience, that football experience, while work is going on, it was a huge, massive undertaking. And then the arts, we had some community partners that really helped us with the arts. We were able to use some facilities that were community facilities. We were able to accomplish most of our events with the least disturbance to our family of kids. To varying degrees, almost every one of our projects had those challenges. Before we could actually begin construction, and do the project that was slated to be done, we had to address those structural to make sure that the facility was safe.
Tell us how you stayed in communication with your board. Did you provide weekly reports or monthly reports or updates, or how did you keep your Board of Education and your administration communicated with so they always knew what was happening with the projects?
We've got regularly scheduled meetings with CMS and our construction contractors and our architects. And we do that by, we start out with a monthly meeting, then we progress to a every other week meeting, and then when you get towards the end of the project, we go to our red zone, and that's every week.
We really brought CMS Willowbrook in as a consultant for the planning process before the bond, helped us understand just price ranges for some of the projects that we wanted to do, timelines, helped us plan projects so that they would be a little bit more staggered, and it was really helpful having a group that had been through that process at every stage to help guide me as a leader and help guide us as a leadership team through the planning and the bond election and then getting kicked off.
You know, I think that the reason that Bond 35 has been successful in part is because it didn't start the day that we passed the bond. It started well before that, and there was a lot of work and a lot of thought put into budget, and CMS immediately started on taking a look at budgets and what we anticipated being costs that we were going to encounter.
In the 40s, the stadium was built. The top step where the locker room is, where the locker room was underneath the stadium, the home stands. So the top step that every player that ever played here, the final step they took onto the field, we put it outside the locker room, and it's a really cool thing. It's kind of become a new tradition. And when the players come onto the field, they line up and each one of them touches it, and that's just something I think is going to be here forever.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat.
It is, and I know there's a lot of tradition with the district, and especially here with the Bombers.
Yes.
So that's exciting that you guys have been able to maintain that. Do you have any advice that you would offer a superintendent if they said, "Hey, Dr. Cobb, thinking about calling a bond issue. You got any advice for me?"
First thing that you need to do is get to know your facilities. If you are a first-year superintendent who has worked in the district where you're taking over, then you're probably already familiar. But if you're new to a district, take some time. Depending on the size of that district, it might be a few months and it might be a year, but take the time to really get to know your facilities, and then meet with your bond advisor. Figure out where you are in the bond cycle. Figure out what your bonding capacity is without raising taxes. Meet with members of the community, every civic group that'll have you. Listen to your teachers. They're the ones in the buildings every day. Listen to your students, because they see the buildings a little bit differently than the teachers do, and certainly differently than the superintendent does. And just try to bring all of those perspectives into a united priority list and match that priority list against your bonding capacity and go from there.
And now that we're wrapping up, we're coming to the end of the bond, and we're finishing up all of the projects. As we look back, kind of recap over the last couple of years, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently, or would you have done anything differently?
I can go into every one of our facilities and say, you know what, I wish we had thought of X, Y, and Z. And those are pretty small things. I don't really have a list of regrets about how we ran that bond in 2017 and the projects that we did. I feel like we've done a good job of transforming this district into the future.
This has taught me we need to continue to have a vision moving forward,
Yeah.
because it's new right now, but there will be things that we can add to, and at the end of the day, this is all about the kids.
Yeah.
And seeing this year how important something like this is to our kids, it makes you focus on, okay, what's next? So I wouldn't do anything different, but I did learn just to keep focus on making sure we improve areas that need to be improved.
I appreciate the trust that you put in us, and appreciate the journey that you've taken us on.
Thank you, and I appreciate it too. You've been great to work with on all of these projects.
Christy, thank you for your team. It's been a very pleasurable and positive experience, I think, for all parties, and we look forward to the next one.